Well, hey, it's Lynn Brown, and welcome to the Gritty Women Global podcast. Today, we have an amazing woman. I have known her forever, for her whole life. I think I've known her. And so there was nobody better to bring on today to just bring a message of encouragement and hope and just an example of what happens when you just keep taking the next step. You just begin where you are and you take that next step, and just what can happen in your life. She is a mountain mover. So I'm not going to waste any more of her time. I want her to have every minute of it today. So Gritty Global Podcast viewers from all over the world, 25 countries, I want to introduce to you Dr. Kimberly Moore. Kim, I'm so glad that you were able to squeeze in a few minutes of your just busy schedule. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. It's a great day. And you know what? I would never miss out on an opportunity to connect with you. You're
Oh,
always pouring into everybody else. So, yes.
oh. Well, thank you so much. And I've watched your journey. I remember you in high school. My mother actually taught you, and I remember just watching you there going, wow, how's she doing the things she's doing at such a young age? So just talk to us. Tell us, what you're most excited about, and just share anything that you want our viewers to hear.
So, what I'm most excited about right now is betting on myself in a big way. I am in the midst of transition. I have left a job that has been amazing for the last 10 years. But that was my 2.0. My 1.0 was coming out of my, high school dreams and college dreams and becoming a CEO. So I was Florida's youngest CEO to lead the workforce and economic development system in the state of Florida. So that was 1.0. And then I reshaped and reimagined and went on to education. That became 2.0, going from local, statewide, and now a national message on that. And now, you know what? It's 3.0 in a whole nother state. And it's going to be exciting. I mean, there is something to be said about when you bet on you. And that's everything that I'm doing right now.
Wow, I love that, betting on you. And I think that there's so many women just like you that are waiting for that. They want more. They know there's more. They have that nudge inside of them, which we know that we are created for greatness. We are created by a perfect creator, and there's so much more for us. And I think there's so many women sitting back going, I'm just getting ready to get ready, and well, what if this and what if that? What would you say to to that little group of women out there in the world that is just trying to go from their 1.0, or maybe their 0.5 to their 1.0?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, the thing that I tell them is quiet that voice, put that voice in the closet because we are destined for great things. I never have any doubt that if I'm walking into a room that I'm not going to own it. I believe that in you, it starts with us. It really does start with us and the things that we have prepared ourselves for. I am of faith as well. And I believe that just adds a little bit more to it, that when I walk in the room that others are going to feel that same way and believe that they can. I think the other thing is that your journey is never about you. So as I live this life, it really is about the next woman or all the women that I come into contact with, that they get inspired and hopefully push to that next level, because there really are so many levels. We never have to limit ourselves, because as long as we're willing to push and put in the time and effort, then it can be ours. I mean, you can be the first. So I don't ever think about things where I'm going into a space, and my entire career has been about a male dominated field, and white. But it's clear, when I think about everything that's happened, it hasn't stopped me. It's actually created another platform, and that continues to grow. So I would say put the voice in the closet, lock the door. You got work to do, and let's get to going on that mountain that you're ready to climb.
Wow, that is so awesome. And it's so true, isn't it? Because so often I know in the past, I'll speak for myself, I've sat around and thought these circumstances are keeping me here, and no circumstance can keep us, bound anywhere unless we give it permission to. And what I see in you is just this spirit of boldness, just courageous, relentless, resilient woman, gritty woman, that is just so willing to do things other people are not willing to do. And that just takes me back to, I remember, I'll never forget the story. I've told it so many times, I can't even tell you how many times I've told your story of managing. Tell us real quick about that. When you were in high school, what were you doing? Were you just,
Yeah.
having fun and riding around with your friends and all that? What were you doing?
So it's funny because how everything always lines up. So at 14, I had my first job. It was actually at the Silver Fox and the Stone Fox at
Yeah,
the pizza
yeah,
place,
yeah.
Stone Fox. And then at 15, my sister and I, we were managing the Dairy Shake. And the Dairy Shake, oh my gosh, it was the place to be. Ice cream, snow cones, hot dogs, hamburgers, cheeseburgers. And what was neat about that is that we weren't just, the employees. We were trusted by the owner that we would literally run the shop, bank deposits, take the bank deposits home. We couldn't even drive yet. Take the bank deposits home, bring them back over the weekend, and then he deposit them. And I thought, who in the world trusts these kids like this? But really, I mean, that I call it just the setup for something great, because everything that I've done has been about leading others, being responsible. And it started right there in Madison County with that shop over the summer, and then into all of our school term right up to our senior year, doing just that.
Wow. And you got to wonder if that guy ever knew. I mean, I wonder if he knows the impact that he had on you and his willingness to trust you. He saw great things in you. Isn't that neat? He
It's
saw he
neat.
saw something in you that was just exceptional.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the thing that I look to do, and I think every woman should look to do. Look at those individuals that may not see it in themselves, but you see that spark. Go ahead, sit down, take the moment, call it out, because someone may be struggling. They have no idea that they even have a glimmer, and you see that diamond that's ready to just be shined up a little bit, and it's ready to be sold. That is what we owe each other to do. Yeah.
Wow. That is so amazing. Yeah, we never know. I know even that the story we were sharing right before we started our podcast today, you were sharing about a woman that in one particular your first job as a caseworker, you met a woman and you poured into her. And just tell us real quick, you got to share, that's too good.
Yeah,
Because
it
our
was it was
stories are just amazing to me. Tell us about that lady.
absolutely. So my second job out of college was case management. And so I was meant to case manage individuals who were receiving public assistance or welfare. They were kind of down on their luck. And the idea was how to
We had a little chop right now just for a second, but I know it'll come
build
back.
self-confidence. And I didn't know my young self. I had no idea how. I knew that I would stay true to it. And lo and behold, fast forward 20 years later, I can't tell you how many people and folks that I've case managed that I've run into and where it's really meant a lot to them. But in particular, I was just in the store the other day and she stopped me. She's like, Dr. Moore, I know you're not passing by. And I said, oh, no, I never do that. And she congratulated me, gave me a big hug about the transition and just how things were going on in life. And she wanted me to meet her daughter, which would have been one of the babies back then, that she said, hey, by the way, look at what you did. She graduated with her bachelor's. Now she just got accepted into grad school. My other daughter, she was working in the governor's office. Now she's working here. My son is getting ready to graduate from high school. She took everything that I had out of my hand and demanded that she be able to pay it forward and pay for it. My heart was so full. It just is. It just is that when you give and when you see what happens with it, it just makes you want to pour many times over and know that we each have a role in changing someone's life.
That's right. It's so true. And you know what? I mean, so a minute ago when you told me the story before we started, I got chills and I just got chills again. I mean, like I could just like tear up right now. I mean, that is so, so precious. And just all you gave was your best to her. And she turned around and she gave the best by multiplying that leadership in her children. And now to see the multiplication of that. But that's what leaders do. And that's what you have done your entire life, just from a young girl on up until now. And wow, the world is so much better because of you. And one of my mentors, the first time he said this to me 7 years ago, I about fell out of the seat, but he was talking about, traffic. He said, have you ever heard people talk about the traffic? And this traffic is terrible. This traffic is terrible. He said, you know what? We're part of the traffic. You're in the traffic, you're part of it. And so I learned so much from that, realizing that I can't talk about we did this and we do that, or they're doing this or they're doing that. It's Lynn Brown. What is Lynn Brown doing today to make the world better? When I go to the Dollar Tree and I see a former student or whatever, what am I doing there to pour into them? And it's just like you said, everywhere we go, everywhere our feet go, there is revelation, power, breakthrough, and something for somebody if we choose, to do that. So wow, wow, the world. And now you're about to move to a new state, a new place, a whole new state to just revolutionize and bring your light to. So that is so cool. Tell me about your the greatest advice that you were ever given. What do you think? Who was it from?
I think the greatest advice that I was given, and it's actually from Dr. Wyatt Pope. Actually, there's two. Let's rewind back to high school and English. And this was the Laura Young. She was an English teacher.
Yeah.
And she told me to go back our assignment was to write down what we wanted to do after high school. And I wrote down that I was going to come back home and I was going to get a government job and I was going to do that. And she called me up to her desk and she said, Kim, you have great grades. What is it that you really want to do? I said, I'd like to be a CEO. And she said, I said, I'd like to be a CEO. She said, go back and write that. I have that little piece of paper from all these 20 plus years, 30 plus years of what she said and I tell people whenever I'm speaking now, I call it the permission to dream, the license to dream, because that's what she said. It was okay to have that thought in your head. It didn't matter if you didn't know anybody that was a CEO, but that you could, and that she believed. And literally when I got to that spot and became Florida's youngest CEO, I was like, you know what? Much of this is hers because, that's what she said. So the second one would be Dr. Wyatt Pope, to not limit what it is that you believe that can be accomplished. I had never been a contract and compliance officer or a chief operations officer. He continued to promote me. He said, because you will learn what it takes. And not only did I learn what it takes, I succeeded him. So it's just the power of words. And when people take hold to those words, it's amazing that you truly can live it out. You can live it out, what people are sharing and believing and saying to you in that last, yes, someone could have given me a gift and all of that, but I really do believe the power of words lasts so much longer.
Oh, that's so true. It's so good. And you said something that was so neat, that your English teacher, Miss Young, made you go back and write it down. And I know you probably share this with people all the time, as I do too. Just write it down. Write down those things. First of all, write down your gratitude every day. And then the second thing is write down those dreams as if they had happened, and you will see. I love that verse. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has, ever imagined what God will do for those who truly love him and believe. And sometimes we have to borrow belief. I heard you saying that, sometimes you had to borrow the belief that you would be that CEO. You'd never seen one. You just knew in your heart you wanted to be one. So you borrowed the belief of your English teacher, who was not a CEO. Well, she was the CEO of her classroom, but, and a good one at that. And so you borrowed that belief, and now what you're doing is you are going out everywhere you go, and every time you speak, and you are speaking to those people who might not totally believe it, and they can borrow your belief until they get their own.
It's the belief that whether it's business or whether it's education, people, again, it's so funny that you can go from, Greenville, Madison County, and then even to Tallahassee, because that was a larger space for me.
Yeah.
And people say, how in the world did you learn economic and workforce development? You all just had a traffic light or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I tell them it really is the power of what you believe and what you get exposed to. And the other piece is that we all have an amazing talent. We have talents if we're willing to step out and use them. And I plan on absolutely using every one of them that I have and not leaving any of them on the shelf.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, thank you so much. Wow. we're kind of like, we're the same in that we're living life in the deep end. When the water's over your head, it doesn't matter how deep it is. You just keep kicking and paddling and going and giving, and you're gonna do things like we said you never even dreamed or imagined. um One thing I always like to ask in closing is, the gritty mindset. The G in gritty stands for a grateful heart. The R is for resilience. The I is for live an inspiring life. The two T's in gritty are to think tough, because this life is not for wimps. And the Y is you do you. Which one of those resonates with you in the word gritty?
You know what? I hate to just select one, but I really am focused on the you do you. And I say that in large part because oftentimes we get distracted looking at someone else's path, and then we lose sight of our own, or either we stop so that we can stare and keep, and just not go. Mine is the you do you, and that realizing that everybody's on a journey and on a path, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the best one in the path that I've been given and that's laid out for me.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's it. Yeah, I love that when you said we stop and stare. And I was thinking and compare. So
Uh-huh.
we don't want any of our listeners to stare and compare. You just do
Exactly.
you. That's right. You just go out and be the amazing woman that God created you to be, and the world will be better because of it. And I truly mean this with all my heart. You are you are just one of those people in my life that I always use an example. Because you're inspiring. You are gritty. You're a gritty woman, and you could have easily settled so easily, and it's what we do with what we have that makes a difference. So I just can't thank you enough. If I was in a jewelry store today, I would buy your jewelry too. If I was in a restaurant, I'd buy your meal. If I would just so do it, just to pay it forward. But I thought, well, this is one little way I can just, share her story with women all around the world. And
I love it. I did not. I was like, we'll squeeze it in because, it's so amazing. Yes, you get a chance to be exposed to many things in the world, but there is something to be said about coming home.
yeah,
About coming home and
yeah.
knowing that there is some arms waiting for you. And that's what it always
Yeah.
feels like, Lynn, when you reach out like a big old hug. So
Well, you are one of our hometown heroes, that's for sure. And we know that you're going to take, all the love and all the things that you've learned, and you're going to continue to go out and make a difference in the world. So I look forward to watching your next steps of the journey. And again, thank you so much. I cannot wait to get this published out into the world. So what a great time. The world needs this message. So thank you so much for
thank
sharing with us
you.
today. And keep us posted. I'm gonna be watching.
I will. I will. We're not going to leave a stone unturned. We're going to take over the world.
That is so awesome.